Fun fact number 61. The power went out. Got home from work. Walked through the door. The power was out. Power out. And then they said it was equipment failure. And then my backyard's here. Part of the backyard, the deck, the backyard, outside my window. And then the other people's backyard is over there. And over there, there were bright lights coming from the backyard. And you can hear this boom, 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 boom. And then you heard very loudly, very close by to my room. We realized that's why there was a power outage in our area. Because they shut off the power because they were cutting down trees after 7 o'clock at night till about 10 during a weekday. And we had no power. So me and my 2 other roommates that have been here for a while, not the 2 new ones, they were someplace else. When they found out the power was out, they went someplace else. But we lit candles. We went and picked up some Vietnamese food. We sat around the candles and a flashlight with the bright light over there shining this way, watching them cut branches off the tree and slowly lower them because they had a crane and a rope that came down and that went around the branches, and they were slowly lowering the branches down, and then they tied the rope on top of this huge pine tree, and then they cut the bottom, and then they had these bright lights shining behind it. And we were sitting over there, and there's big windows over there into the backyard, and we could see the other backyard. And we were sitting in our candlelight and our flashlight and our Vietnamese food and just talking about life and what's going on in our lives and strange things and weird things and sad things and death. And one of my roommates started crying, and so I went over to comfort but also let her know she's doing really good, and so not to stress out that she's not doing enough. She's doing really good, or they're doing really good. So I was sitting on the far side, wherever it is. Everything's backwards, and doing that, and I looked out the windows and I said, the tree's floating. Because they had picked it up, and it was this huge tree, and it was just like cut off at the bottom, and it was floating like a ghost tree, a huge ghost tree. It was like still straight up and down, and just kind of, the tree was floating. We called it the ghost tree floating in the backyard. And that's why I'm calling fun fact number 61 the ghost tree floating in the backyard. I may have to write a short story called The Ghost Tree Floating in the Backyard. And if you've looked at some of my early ones, maybe Gaslighted by God too. That might be a fun one to write as well. Those are 2, I should write that down, 2 ideas for short stories. Gaslighted by God and There's a Ghost Tree Floating in the Backyard. And I just turned to my roommates and I went, this is really surreal. And one of my roommates said, and I didn't even drink any wine tonight or take my CBD. Is that really happening? And I'm like, yeah. See, you don't need drugs. Weird things happen all the time. That'll make you just change your perspective. And make things very, very surreal. That you're just like, wow, did that just happen? So yeah, there was this ghost tree floating in the backyard. Of course, the power didn't come back on for another 3 hours. But that was a very unique experience. So if you ever have a unique experience with a ghost tree floating in the backyard, let me know. Because maybe it's just me and my roommates. Ciao, Bellas.